And there we go. We have just removed the carburetor in literally about 2 minutes. This one and this one usually go on one side. This one and this one usually go on the other. This lever that goes over this, and then this piece. And then there's the spring. All I can do now is go online and see if I can find the kit. This line up top is all the old stuff. I got the new stuff down here. This is the old guts of the carb, and then this is the new guts of the carb. The spring just flew away, and I have no idea where it ended up. Very carefully, we need to make sure we get this spring on top of the bump. So we got to get this over a bit more. Luckily, our screwdriver was magnetized like that. The metal disc facing down. The thinner gasket went first, and then we do the thicker one. If you don't move this arm out of the way, it's putting pressure on the screw. I mean, we all know better than to force anything anyways, but boy, when you're working with a carb or an engine, you really don't want to force it. Get that over, push it down, and it'll go right in the hole. Hey, how's it going today, guys? Today I was in the yard doing some work, and I tried to do some pruning with a tool called a Power Pruner. You see here on the workbench, it's about 6 feet long, and it's got like a 10-inch chainsaw on the end of it, and then like a weed whacker motor. And I've had this thing since, I'm gonna say the mid to late 90s. So I've had it quite a while. So I went to use it today, and I could get the thing started, but as soon as I hit the throttle, it wouldn't get going, and I thought maybe I didn't warm it up long enough. So after I flooded it, I took the spark plug out, let it sit for a half hour, put the plug back in, start it up again, let it warm up for a really long time. But the second I start hitting the throttle, it just stalls out. So I think based on the age of the machine and also the fact that I really haven't used it much in the last few years, the carb is probably all gummed up, or just the carb gaskets have went. I don't think I've ever rebuilt the carburetor on this one. For the cost of a carb rebuild kit, I figure that's where I'm going to start. But the reason we're making the video today is just this machine is so old that there's like barely any shrouds in the way. I don't want to jinx myself because I'm sure something's going to go wrong once you open up the carb, but just to get the carb off, it's pretty easy to get to. So what we're hoping to do is tonight, we'll just get the carb off, pray we can find some numbers on the carb so I can bring it to my dealer and just show him the carb. Hopefully he can look it up, find the numbers. I have something in stock, but based on the age, either they won't make it anymore or it'll be a special order. I guess we'll see. But let's just check this out. I'm happy to report that I've got some new lighting over my workbench here. So hopefully you guys are seeing this much better than in some of my older videos. But here we go. Here's our carb. So we'll take off our air cleaner cover. There's our air cleaner. And then there's a throttle linkage right back here. I'm not sure if you guys can see that or not. All we need to do is push that back, and there's this little round thing on the end here. I hope you can see that comes out. So we've just disconnected the throttle linkage. I'm going to open the fuel tank so there's no pressure in it. Now we've got two fuel lines, or one fuel line coming into the carb and then one return line of some sort. And I suppose I should make sure that these lines are in good shape and it's not just a broken line preventing fuel, because this one line looks a little wet. But let's see, the smaller line is the one that goes to the back. And then the bigger line goes to the front. And that's on there pretty good. All right. And then to get the carb off, all we got is these two screws here. And it should be off. And there we go. We have just removed the carburetor in literally about 2 minutes. I just think that's fascinating. And then we can just pull all this stuff right off. We've got a gasket in the back, which has 4 holes, so it doesn't seem like it really matters how that gasket goes back on. But the cleaner side touches the carb. And then I'm gonna go grab some carb cleaner and just give this a quick spritz and see if I can find a model number or something on here to, there it is, to identify it. And I'll also take a good look at these fuel lines, which I do not see any cracks in. A few years ago, I picked up this, it's called a master line set from Lisle. It's part number 67000. And, you know, I basically added to it with everything I've got, including golf tees to stop stuff leaking. But and then I did order some more parts too, some extra parts. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these 2 little guys right here and stuff them in those hoses so I don't spill any more gas than I just did. I went outside and hit the carb with some carb cleaner, and apparently I had the wrong type of gloves on because I was using my right hand to spray and my left hand to hold, and the gloves I had just started to disintegrate. So I took them off real quick and went inside and washed my hands a whole bunch of times. And hopefully, these are latex gloves. Hopefully this is the right material. I just really don't like solvents. The carburetor we're looking at here is, it says that you can barely see it. You really need to look. I've got some magnifying glasses on, and you need to get the right light, but it says K16 3ZE. I'm gonna go on the internet and see what I can find out, see if they have any info on this guy. I need to take off the fuel line broke right here. There's a little piece of fuel line still there. Maybe tomorrow when I go, I'll get some fuel line for these guys. Just put new fuel line on. I probably won't take this apart until I'm sure I can get another carburetor, just so we can do it all in one fell swoop. It's the next afternoon, and I went out this morning and I did get the gasket kit right here. It's a RK16HU Tillotson. It was a little over $12 at my local dealer. I think we talked about it yesterday, but the part number is on the carb right here, which was K16-3ZE. What I want to do now is first I want to just open up this kit and lay the pieces out. And then when we start taking apart the carburetor, we can kind of make sure we got a match with our parts. This one and this one usually go on one side. This one and this one usually go on the other. I don't really know what this would be. And then we got the needle here. There's a screen. And then the thing that holds the needle. And then this is, this piece here is called a Welch plug, which I have never changed one of those. But what we can do now is we can start taking apart our carburetor. And as we're taking it apart, we can lay the pieces we take off next to what they replace, so we know exactly where they go. I'm not sure I said this or not. I mean, I am not by any means a master mechanic with small engines. I'm just a guy that likes to tinker. And so I figure we'll just go ahead and do this. See what happens. Okay, so on this piece, which is the diaphragm side, which smells really funky, there's a little piece coming off the cover there that goes in this hole. And it looks like we got the wrong part already. Darn it. So one thing I just want to make note of for you guys. Let me zoom in so you can see this. All right, so the way this piece came off, you see this little hook up here? Little hook right up top here that goes in this hole for alignment. But this is what's known as a diaphragm. And the diaphragm, which is this part right here, there's always a piece like this underneath of it. So this piece goes first touching the carb, and then this other piece with the metal is going to go on top of that, facing this way. So when we pull this off, take a look, that's what we got. And every carburetor I've ever done, that's the way it goes back together. I'm not saying it couldn't be different. I've just noticed that. Now I just wonder, so the piece we just ordered, I don't think that's going to line up, unfortunately. You've got a screw which holds this thing here in, and then that actually holds the needle in. So if we take this screw out very carefully, so hopefully we will not. Let me get a different screwdriver. Let's see if we can loosen the screw first. And then we'll hold on to the spring and loosen this up so we don't send stuff flying all over. So watch how all this stuff here comes out, and you just want to make sure you don't launch it. So you've got this lever that goes over this piece of metal, and then this piece, and then there's the spring, which they did not give us a replacement for, and then here is this little needle thing here, which is not the same size as the kit I just got. I say you should check the tip of that needle to make sure that it's not worn out, and this one looks fine, so I would have no problem reusing that. So we'll put this stuff over here. And we're going to be very careful because we don't want to lose any of these small pieces, because they don't give you these pieces in the kit. The needle and the lever up here, they don't look like they're the same size. So I think I have the wrong kit, unfortunately. All right, so let's see what happens now on this side. So we still got a little bit of fuel in there. So we'll loosen these guys up, and we'll make sure to keep track of our screws. Okay, so then let's see what this looks like. Huh. So this side literally has no gasket whatsoever on it. It's just the fuel pump. And it'll only go on one way. That's good to know. You know, besides there being some junk in this carb, so I'll take it outside and blow it all off. But the only issue could be just that this diaphragm here, maybe it's just a little, you know, lost its elasticity over time. But you see, if you grab this, this should be two pieces. See that? So where we are now is these are the two pieces I took off. And if you look right here, you see this curve, which is the same as this curve. So the new ones are here and they don't have the curves. So we've definitely got the wrong piece. So maybe what I'll do is I'll go online and see if I can find something. Maybe something from Zama, not Tillotson. I don't really know who Tillotson is. But I think the shape of this should give away if we've got the right kit or not. So before I go and check all this stuff out, what I'm going to do is I picked up a can of this stuff. I'm going to put some safety goggles on and probably even a face shield. These are vinyl gloves, which may not be the right stuff. I'm afraid I'm going to melt them again. I had nitrile gloves. I used to buy them, you know, six boxes of 100 at a time. But it's the pandemic now, and I'm just not seeing the stuff around like I used to. And if I see it, it's 3 times what it used to be. So I used to always have nitrile gloves, and these vinyl ones might fade again, but if they do, I'll take them off right away and go wash my hands a bunch of times. But I'm just going to spritz every hole I see on this carb, make sure everything flows through okay, and then I guess we'll just take it from there. As I'm looking at this, there isn't even a Welch plug on this carburetor, and I don't even see the screen. You know, every carburetor I've ever taken apart has had a screen on it somewhere, and I'm not even seeing that screen. But let me go get this cleaned up. That's another step. And then I will go do some research and, see what we end up with. We'll see you soon, guys. All right, guys, I got a little bit of a surprise there. So I went out and I was starting to spray the carb. And I put the carb cleaner in these fuel supply and return holes, and all of a sudden I noticed it was spritzing out down below here. So I do apologize, guys. There's a whole nother layer to this carb right here. We missed all that. Let's see if we can get the piece off here. And the interesting part about this one, the thinner gasket actually touches the carb on this side, and then the thicker one goes farther away. And I've got to say that I definitely do have the wrong kit, because that just looks nothing like no matter how I move this around, the holes are not lining up. So we're not going to get away with using this kit at all for this one. I said I didn't see a screen, so there is a screen which you can just take your pick and pick out. And I'm not really going to do that until I'm sure I have a new screen. If you take the screen out and you want to put it back, you can just get a drill bit and use the non-sharpened side of the drill bit, and you get one that's just a touch smaller than this hole, and use that to push it back down in. I've done that before. So now that I think we're actually where we need to be, I'm going to go out again and spray some parts cleaner all over this guy, and I'll make sure I take this hose off too, this piece of hose, and get it cleaned up. All right, guys, I got everything cleaned off, and I don't see any gook in this. Everything looks good. There's not like a white, substance stuck in there. As far as I could tell, everything was flowing through the passages all right. So all I can do now is go online and see if I can find the kit. And I don't know if I mentioned or not yet, but the K in the part number on the carburetor means it was an Echo carburetor. I did learn that last night. So if I go on and search for K, and then maybe Zama has a kit, but I think this gasket, if I see a gasket like this, this may be the piece or the diaphragm gasket. Sometimes they spread them out on the internet, and if I can just match the piece, I'm sure for under 20 bucks, I can get the carb rebuild kit, and hopefully this old one, you know, it's a little dirty. I don't see any cracks in it, but maybe it just lost its elasticity over time, and it's just time after, you know, 20 plus years, it's just time to rebuild it. So I'll get to work on that, and we will see you soon. Thanks, guys. About a week has gone by, and we are back at it. And what happened was I went to the dealer to order the carb rebuild kit. I came back with a Tillotson kit, which I assume Tillotson made rebuild kits for all manufacturers of carburetors. It turns out Tillotson is a brand of carburetor. So, you know, I guess somebody was just having, you know, we all have off days. Before I went online and looked up the carb. And then I also went to one of the online parts places, and they showed, you know, the carb kit laid out, which you can't really rely on. But I discovered I needed an RB-21 rebuild kit for this guy. So I went to the local dealer and asked them, you know, if they had one in stock, which of course they didn't. And then with COVID going on, you know, deliveries have been really behind for the small equipment, the power equipment shop I go to. So, you know, I asked them if they could get it, you know, within 4 to 5 days, because online they said they could get it in 4 to 5 days, and they recommended I just get it online. So I did order it online. I believe I ordered it on a Saturday, and the part got to me on Tuesday, but I just haven't gotten back to it. So it's now literally a week after the Tuesday that this part arrived. And the reason I just told you that whole story was just because for any of the younger guys out there, that's just part of life. I just want to, you know, if anybody here that fixes small equipment doesn't have a story like that, let me know, because, you know, this is one of those things you just kind of come to grips with. The more critical you need something, the greater the chances the part's not going to be in stock. And I have to admit that when I was using the Power Pruner, you know, I was really having quite a good pruning spree, and I was looking forward to finishing my last tree. Once I learned that the part wasn't going to be here, I just basically put it off and said I'll get to it when I get to it. There's the story. So let's see if this kit, can you guys see that? So it's an RB-21 Rebuild Kit. And I'll see if I can lay the parts out, and then we'll bring you guys back once I got them laid out, so you don't watch me, you know, take this all apart. All right, guys, so we're looking pretty good. I got this line up top is all the old stuff. I got the new stuff down here. This is the old guts of the carb, and then this is the new guts of the carb. And the only problem I had was there's this one gasket. So let's see if we can show you this. Hopefully we're focusing in on the hands. So this one gasket, they gave me one that's made out of like the same gasket material there, and then one that's made out of plastic. So I did just call my dealer just out of curiosity and see what they said. And they said they just always use the one that's made out of the same material. And they can't figure out why they give you this one either, because they've never seen one in modern carbs either. So if anybody knows the answer to that question, please let us know. All right, so the first thing we could do is there's a little screen right in here, and we did get a little screen in the kit right there, but we're not going to use that because this screen looks perfectly fine. But if we were going to replace it, you could just stick your pick in there, it would come right out, and then you would just get a drill bit, use the non-sharpened side, get a drill bit just a little bit smaller than the screen, and just push it down with that. It's a very doable thing. So then we're going to flip over to this side. They did give us a Welch plug. You see the Welch plug right there? I've never replaced one, and I wouldn't have a clue how to replace one, and I don't think we need to go that far anyways. So maybe Donnie Boy's got some videos on how to do that, but we're not going to use that either. But what we will use is they gave us a new needle, even though the needle I had really wasn't that bad. And then there's a new spring, which we'll put right over here. And then this is where it gets kind of tricky. We're going to take this lever thing and put the piece of metal through. This also came in the kit. And then what we want to do is be ready with our screw. And look at that. Our screwdriver's got some magnetism in it, which is going to come in very handy. What we want to do is first we want to take off our gloves, because there's no way this is happening with these gloves on. I think I did it in the wrong order. Hold on. So we're gonna take the spring out, take the needle out, put the spring back in. All right, the spring just flew away, and I have no idea where it ended up. So we are going to go with the old spring very carefully. We're going to put this piece of metal in, and then when we bring this down on top of the spring, we're going to try to keep that hooked up as well. So it goes in as one piece, okay? And then very carefully we need to make sure we get this spring on top of the bump. Then we got to get this oh, that's too bad. So close here. So we got to get this over a bit more. And then I think we got it. So now we can, luckily our screwdriver was magnetized. Okay guys, so we got this piece on, and we ended up using the old spring because I literally have no idea where the new spring went. It just started flying, and you know, sometimes you can see where they go, and I heard it make a falling noise, but I have no idea where it was. So this lever's on, and it's just barely moving the needle there. So hopefully that's going to be okay. Only time will tell. And I do just want to make sure I have this in snug. Yep, that's snug, but not broken. So we're not going to go too crazy with that. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to do this gasket here. Like that. And then this piece goes next with the metal disc. The metal disc facing down. And then we put this guy on, and we got that little tab, that little locating tab. And then they give us 2 screws on this side. First we're going to snug them, then we're going to go hard on them. But we want to leave them loose so we can line things up. And let me just go get a better screwdriver. Okay, so that's that side. And then on this side, I believe the gasket went first, the thinner gasket went first. So let's see if we can figure out how that goes. That actually looks right. And then we do the thicker one. And then we got to remember to put this piece back on. And then there's a flat side here, which is probably going to give it away, is how this one goes. Okay, and then we'll put the screws on here. We'll just snug them down first. I just want to make sure I don't want to force anything which doesn't seem like it's going willingly. Oop, oh, you know what's the problem? So I got to move the arm. With this one, if you don't move this arm out of the way, it's putting pressure on the screw, so the screw's not going nice. So there we go. Okay, and then we're going to snug these down. Just double check this side. Good. Good. So in theory, we've just done a rebuild of this carb, or at least a partial rebuild. Let's put all these spare pieces back in an envelope, just in case, and then we'll bring the machine up and see if we can get this back on. All right, I'm just going to open the tank here so we don't have pressure sitting in there. Oops, there comes some gas now. Wonderful. Okay, so we'll pull these pieces we put in here. So it looks like the carb wants to sit like this, which would mean these screws want to go like this. So the question is, was the gasket between the plastic and the carb, or between the carb and the machine? And I'm thinking the gasket was between the carb and the machine. And I can confirm that because if you look at the gasket, you guys may not be able to see, but you can actually see where this little channel here is worn into the gasket, which would mean that this piece went like this. And then this would have to go this way. And then these would have to go this way. And then maybe we'll put these on before we worry about the fuel supply. So we're not going to force anything. I mean, we all know better than to force anything anyways, but boy, when you're working with a carb or an engine, you really don't want to force it. So we'll snug these down. We're not going to snug them till we strip them. We're just going to make sure they're snug. Okay, and then these fuel lines, which I did not replace, it really looks to me like they're just the way they want to be. There's one here, And there's one here. So I'm just going to put them back on the way they seem to want to go, and we're going to hope we got that right. See how there's no hole on this side? I don't know if you guys can see that or not. So we'll just spin that around, and then we can just get that over, push it down, and it'll go right in the hole. So there's our throttle. And then I just vacuumed off the air filter. If it was really bad, I probably would have dipped it in some gasoline and cleaned it off that way with my gloves on outdoors, and put the bad gas in a approved container to dispose of. I keep a container, you know, I have like a small pickle jar I'll use for cleaning car air filters with gasoline, with gloves on, safety goggles, all that stuff. But then I have like a 5-gallon can that I label bad gas. So once I clean it, I pour the bad gas into that 5-gallon can. And then around here, like 5 towns have what they call a household hazardous waste day, where you can bring bad gas to them. Unfortunately, they take the can with them. But if you've got bad gas, you know, rather than dumping it on your lawn, which isn't good, you just keep it in that can, and then once a year you can go get rid of it. So that is the carburetor hooked up. Now, whether we did things right, I don't know. We'll find out soon. The one thing I do want to say is I'm not going to touch the screws. I don't know the carb settings for this carb, so we're just going to go with what the screws were set at, and hope we're close. And if they're not, I'll go inside and see if I can find something online, or see if I can find the directions. It took me a while. I probably pumped it 20 or 30 times before I got fuel coming through the bulb. See what happens. I wonder what that was. I hate to say it, but this is exactly what it was doing before. Is I'd start the machine and it would run great, it would go full throttle, but then as soon as I start working, it would actually just start dying out on me. Let's just try warming her up a little bit more. All right, guys, so I mean, it definitely runs better, because before, I wonder if you can hear me, I got my earmuffs on. So it definitely runs better, because before it wasn't getting the gas, it would die, and then it wasn't getting gas, and I couldn't get it to run again. So, I mean, maybe it was part the carb, and now I need to adjust something. I went in my garage, and I have a hanging file folder, and found the directions. Took me all of about 30 seconds, maybe a minute. So there's a lesson there. But this is a model TT21A, a Power Pruner. Here's the schematic of the carb if anybody wants it. I mean, these part numbers, there's no way they're still good. but the last revision date I saw in here somewhere was 12/92. In the owner's manual, carburetor adjustment as needed. Initial adjustment. Note, the needle screws have a sharp point. To avoid carburetor damage, do not use excessive force when seating needle and body. Turn high and low adjustment screws clockwise until seated lightly in carburetor body. Don't kill them. Okay, didn't kill him. Turn low adjustment screw counterclockwise 1 turn. Half. 1. Turn the high adjustment screw counterclockwise 1 1/4 turns. So we'll do that before we start it. So there's half, 1, and then that's 1/4. Start engine and allow it to run at high idle until warm. Note, idle speed screw may have to be readjusted to keep engine from stalling. Low speed adjustment. Start engine and allow to run at idle until warm, approximately 2 to 3 minutes. Slowly turn the low speed adjustment screw clockwise. Note position when engine speed drops. So there's a change. Turn low speed adjustment screw counterclockwise and note position when engine speed drops. There's a change. Set screw midway between these points. So we're about there. We're running the engine at full throttle. Turn the high adjustment screw slowly clockwise until the engine runs smoothly. So we go clockwise until it's smooth. Once it's smooth, we back off 1/8. Alright, so then we'll back it off 1/8 of a turn. That's the right setting, and then they want us to back off the screw that controls where the idle is until the chain stops moving, I believe. So the chain stopped moving, and then they want us to go another 1/2 turn. All right, guys. Well, I feel like that one was a victory. I think the secret was getting the carb tuned up. And I know as long as I've owned this machine, it always takes it a few minutes to kind of get warmed up. So if you have one or you find one at like a yard sale or something, these older carbs, you really do need to give them 2 or 3 minutes to warm up. And then once I followed the directions as far as tuning the carb up went, it was pretty straightforward. It's just really a game changer when you're doing stuff like this. Again, I'm working in my own yard, so you do need an arborist license to prune trees now in Connecticut. But, I know when I bought this back in the mid-90s, I was half the age I am now, and, grabbing a pole saw to do this pruning was just It was just more than I wanted to do. So I got this guy to make it easier. And I would still probably use a pole saw, you know, or use a ladder to get close and do my final cuts. But for just knocking branches off, you cannot beat this, this Power Pruner. So she lives to fight another day, right? So hopefully you guys learned something. If nothing more than, if I can do it, you can do it. I think that's the South Main Auto guy. But you know, just take a step back. If you're having trouble, the parts are going to take a while to get there. There's going to be problems. Take a step back, find the directions, read them. You'd be amazed what you can accomplish. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you soon. Take care.